We've all been there, right? Trying to make a change. We know it would be good for us, but for some reason, getting it to actually stick feels, well, almost impossible. In this explainer, we're going to break down the science of why that is, and more importantly, what you can actually do to succeed. Okay, so let's just dive right into the big question, shall we? Why is it so incredibly hard to change even when we desperately want to? If you've ever felt like there's this invisible force just holding you back, you're not alone. And it turns out that force is very, very real. It doesn't matter what it is. Trying to start exercising every day, making a big career switch, sticking to a diet, quitting a bad habit, or even ending a relationship that's not good for you. The struggle is the same. It's like your brain starts screaming, "Whoa, stop, just stay right where you are. It's safer here." And look, this isn't a personal failing. It's a biological feature. To really get a handle on this resistance, we have to go back to a very simple, fundamental principle. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with being lazy. It's all about your brain's core programming as a survival machine. This slide right here is absolutely crucial to understand. Your brain is not a happiness machine. It is a survival machine. Its number one job, the directive that's been passed down for millions of years, is just to keep you alive. Happiness is a wonderful bonus, for sure, but it is not the primary objective. And this all boils down to the survival principle. I mean, think about it from our ancestors' perspective. The unknown was incredibly dangerous. A new type of berry could be poisonous. A new path through the forest could have a predator hiding there. So the brain learned a very simple rule. What we did yesterday kept us alive, so let's do it again today. That's why the familiar, even if it's a bad habit, feels so safe, and anything new feels like a threat. And here's the other piece of the puzzle. Change requires energy, real metabolic energy. Your brain has to forge new connections and make new decisions, and that burns calories. So just like a lazy manager trying to conserve the company budget, it always defaults to the easiest, most energy-efficient option, sticking with the old routine. Okay, so how does the brain actually enforce these old routines? Well, it's not just some vague feeling, it's physical. It's about the actual literal wiring inside your head. I absolutely love this metaphor because it makes the whole concept so clear. Just imagine your brain is this massive, wide-open field covered in tall, thick grass. Every action you take, every thought you have, starts to create a path. So, an old habit? That's like a superhighway running through that field. It's wide, it's paved, it's totally effortless to travel on. Now, trying to start a new habit, that's like getting out and trying to force your way through that dense, tall grass for the first time. It's hard work. But with repetition, you start to stomp that grass down. This is neuroplasticity in action. You keep at it, and eventually, that new trail becomes the new superhighway, while the old, unused path slowly gets overgrown. You are literally rewiring your brain. Now, this brings us to a really critical point. We often think that if we just had enough motivation, enough willpower, we could just force our way through that tall grass. But as most of us know from experience, that's rarely enough to get the job done. So if pure grit isn't the answer, then what is? If we can't just power through our brain's natural resistance, how do we work with it to create change that actually lasts? Well, the answer lies in being smarter, not just stronger. Think of it this way. Motivation is the spark that gets a fire started. You need it for that initial push, but a spark dies out in a second. Systems and your environment, that's the kindling and the logs that keep the fire burning long term. Motivation is fickle. A well-designed system is consistent. So how do you build a system? You start by designing your environment. Remember that lazy manager brain? The goal here is to make the good habit the path of least resistance. If you want to eat healthier, don't buy junk food and keep it in the house. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your gym clothes the night before. Want to read more? Put the book right on your pillow. You're just making the right choice the easiest choice. This right here is maybe the most important strategic shift you can possibly make. Our brains are terrified of big, drastic changes. That huge leap across the field just feels overwhelming, so we don't even try. The secret is to forget the leap and focus on the first tiny step. This is the whole concept of an atomic habit. It's an action that is so small, it's almost ridiculous. Your brain won't even register it as a threat. So instead of, "I'm going to go to the gym for an hour," your new goal is just, "I'm going to put on my gym shoes." That's it. Anyone can do that. But that tiny action starts to wear down that new path, and it makes the next step just a little bit easier. Okay, so you've designed your environment. You've started your tiny habits. But then life happens. It is so crucial to understand that setbacks are not a sign that you've failed. They are an inevitable part of the process. This is the perfect mindset to have. No mountaineer just sprints to the summit in one go. They rest, they regroup, sometimes they even have to climb down a little to find a better path. A lapse, like eating that piece of cake, isn't you falling off the mountain. It's just a pause on the journey. The only real failure is choosing to stay down. And this journey, it takes time. Scientific studies show that, on average, it takes about 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. That's over 2 months of doing it consistently. So if you're on day 15 and you're still struggling, that is completely normal. You have to be patient. So the key isn't to aim for a perfect streak, but for a quick recovery. If you miss a day at the gym, don't let it spiral into a week off. A great rule of thumb is to never miss twice. Getting right back on that path the very next day is what reinforces the new neural pathway and keeps the old one from taking over again. So as we bring this all together, the fundamental shift in thinking is to stop seeing change as this big battle against your own mind. It's not a war, it's a negotiation. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you out of spite. It's trying to protect you. It's just using ancient, outdated software to do it. When you understand its motives, safety, and saving energy, you can start to work with it. You can show it, through small, safe steps, that this new behavior isn't actually a threat. So let's recap the key takeaways. Reframe that fear you feel as a sign that you're growing. Start with habits so small they're impossible to say no to. Design your environment to make the right choice the easy choice. Be patient, expect setbacks, and just focus on getting back on track quickly. When you do all this, you tap into the deepest reason we make change in the first place. This is the ultimate goal. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Change isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. When you consistently perform a small habit, you're not just doing an action, you're building evidence for a new identity. You're proving to your brain, see, this is who we are now. So I'll leave you with this question. It's not about some massive overhaul tomorrow. It's about a single, tiny vote today. What is the one ridiculously small action you can take right now to cast a vote for the person you are becoming?